Welcome to Headline Hunting. I'm your host, Joe Ferrar, and joined, as always, by the man who is now in Brazil. We don't know if he's in Australia, Las Vegas, but we do know now that he's in Brazil. John Morgan. Make sure you follow him online via Twitter at MMA Junkie John. Yours truly at Showdown Joe. John, UFC 187 is officially in the books, but there seems to be more questions than we got answers from the event. And we start off with Daniel Cormier. Who should be next in line for the champ?
Well, I think the obvious answer right away is Jon Jones. That's who you want to see fight next, but you can't really talk about that right now. We don't know exactly what's going to happen with Jon Jones. He's in a little bit of trouble, and obviously we all hope that things get better for him soon, but we don't know what that means for right now. So in the meantime, I think the UFC's got to move forward. I say give him Ryan Bader. I know that Ryan Bader is not always the most highly rated fighter in the light heavyweight division, but you got to look at what he's accomplished. He's on a nice little win streak, and hey, there was a little heat there at the press conference. Maybe it was a little too WWE style for a lot of people, but it did give you something to sell. It did give you something to bite into. So for me, I say put Ryan Bader in there next.
I think that's an absolutely fantastic call. I agree with what happened at that post-fight press conference. I don't know if they meant to do it, but they did a fantastic job nonetheless. We move forward now to the undefeated middleweight champion of the world, Chris Weidman. There's talk of Luke Rockhold. There's talk of Jacare Souza. I mean, leave it up to Dana White to confuse us all, John.
Yeah, I don't get that, man. I don't understand what the hesitancy is here, to be honest with you. To me, I think it's clear. The number one contender is Luke Rockhold, and I don't understand why they're not making the fight. I would think that the momentum that's in there, that's in place and ready to go, it's all set up, the fight's ready to be announced. I mean, the only thing I can think, Joe, is that they're really thinking that this New York thing is going to get done in Madison Square Garden, and they'd really like to do Rockhold versus Weidman in Madison Square Garden. You know, a little East versus West, 2 stars, that sort of thing. And they want to do Jacare in the meantime, to do Jacare and Weidman, somewhere in August or September. But man, that's risky, and you know what happens when you start trying to make plans like that. So I can't. For the life of me, I just can't figure it out. I think you got to go with Luke Rockhold. I just don't get it. Name Luke Rockhold. He's the number one guy right now.
Yeah, with all due respect to Jacare Souza, I don't think, if I'm the UFC and I'm putting that fight on, I definitely go with Chris Weidman and Luke Rockhold and save it for New York City if that actually gets sanctioned or regulated in New York State. All right, Donald Cerrone, it's official. Well, Dana White said it's technically official that he is the next in line for the 155-pound title. Agree or disagree?
Completely agree, 100%. You cannot argue with the body of work that the man has put in. I get it, a win over John McDessie isn't necessarily what you want to see as a guy heading into a title fight, but it's not his fault. He was supposed to be fighting Khabib Nurmagomedov. Of course, Nurmagomedov got hurt. Cowboy wanted to fight anyway, and he put on a fantastic performance. And all credit to John McDessie as well, man. He went in there and did the damn thing as well. So, that was fun to watch. But, yeah, for me, you got to give Cowboy the fight. You look at the body of work, the win streak he's on, the popularity that he has at this point, no-brainer. Absolutely, Donald Cerrone deserves that shot.
The Nevada State Athletic Commission is setting a precedent. I believe they're suggesting, or they may actually implement, that if you get caught with performance-enhancing drugs, it will be a 3-year suspension. Is that enough? Is it too much? Is it not enough?
I love it, to be honest with you. I think it's a great place to start, and let's see what happens. I mean, I think inevitably we're going to see some people fail and have to face these rigid penalties later this year, and I love it. I think anything that we can do to help get rid of performance-enhancing drugs needs to be looked at. Now, I will say this, in the same token, I don't know about your fellow Canadian fans there will probably agree, but I think they need to quit testing for marijuana altogether, to be honest with you. That's one thing that I'd like to see change, and it looks like next year in the state of Nevada, they'll be voting on passing marijuana in recreational use in the state, and if it does pass, I hope the Athletic Commission goes back and revisits that, and maybe that can be the standard. So maybe that's a little bit of my own personal politics there, but that's what I'd like to see. But in the meantime, PED use 3 years, I love it. I think it's a great thing to do. 4 years that they talked about, I think that's a little too much. That was a WADA standard that was really designed to kind of keep people from competing in Olympics, basically. I think 4 might be a little too much, but I like 3, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's 2015. This whole marijuana situation is going to change faster than most people do understand. I mean, prove to me it's a performance-enhancing drug. I'll debate it with you, but I don't believe it is. All right, final question. You are in Brazil. Carlos Condit, the natural-born killer, is finally back after a massive layoff. He's taking on the pitbull Thiago Alves. Who do you like in this fight?
Man, such a tough fight to call, to be honest with you, and I love it. I mean, I think this is a must-see matchup. Fantastic main event. I'm excited for it. I'm leaning towards Thiago Alves, though, to be honest with you. He's the underdog, but I think he's the hot hand right now. You mentioned the layoff. You're looking at a 14-month layoff for Carlos Condit, and you also look at the performances that Thiago Alves has turned in his past 2 victories. They've been very impressive, and the thing I really like about it, he's done it against guys that kind of have a similar body type to Carlos Condit, kind of long, rangy guys. And so I feel like he's been preparing for this fight through his last 2 fight camps. Add in the fact that it's kind of a special fight for him being back down in his native country of Brazil, and I'm going to take Alves in this one for the upset.
John, lots of stuff to do down there in Brazil, lots of stuff to do here in Toronto. Thank you very much for your time.
Always a pleasure, my man.